The moment you choose not to conform, when you stop adjusting who you are just to fit in, is the exact moment people begin to scrutinize you. There's something magnetic, even unsettling, about a person who moves through life without seeking validation. It's not loud. It's not attention-seeking. It's subtle, quiet, and yet powerful. These are the individuals who walk their own path, follow no script, and remain completely indifferent to society's constant hunger for approval. And when you become one of them, something shifts not just within you, but in how the world responds. This shift isn't rooted in arrogance. It's not about thinking you're better than others. It's about embracing authenticity without compromise. When you stop chasing approval, an ironic thing happens. People begin chasing yours. You never asked to be the chosen one. You don't project yourself as superior. And yet, life has a funny way of putting you in that role. Not because you seek it, but because your self-sufficiency stands out in a world addicted to attention. This is the essence of the Sigma male. Not a trend or a label, but a quiet truth you've always sensed deep within. For much of your life, you've likely felt misunderstood, underestimated, even pushed aside. All because you refuse to play the social games others seem to accept without question. But here's the plot twist. People notice. Eventually, they always do. They recognize something rare in your energy, something that unsettles the status quo. When that happens, their behavior shifts. Some are inexplicably drawn to you. Others feel threatened or uncomfortable. And some go as far as testing your calm exterior, probing to see if you're really as unshakable as you appear. This video explores those strange, subtle, and often frustrating responses people have when they realize you're not like the rest. It's not about changing who you are. It's about understanding what's happening around you. When you grasp these social dynamics, you can navigate them with clarity and composure. By the end, you'll recognize your own quiet power and stop questioning the strength that's always been there. 1. They send in emotional spies. At first, you're just living your life, focused, undisturbed, not craving attention. Then, almost out of nowhere, someone enters your orbit with an unusual level of interest. They ask too many personal questions disguised as casual chat. They try to create instant familiarity, acting like the two of you just click. But if you're even slightly intuitive, something about it feels off. Their presence doesn't feel organic. It feels intentional. Why does this happen? Simple. People fear what they can't read. When someone can't understand or predict you, they often recruit others to do the work for them. These emotional spies come in many forms. A mutual friend who suddenly becomes oddly inquisitive, a new colleague who zeroes in on your routines, or even a stranger at a party who claims to know you through some vague source. Their mission? Decode the enigma that is you. You don't overshare. You don't follow social scripts. And you definitely don't perform for approval. This makes you unpredictable. And to some, unpredictability equals threat. These spies try to draw you out through subtle interrogation, monitoring your reactions, fishing for clues about what makes you tick. Some do out of curiosity. Others are driven by insecurity, even jealousy. But what they don't realize is, you see them. You recognize the difference between real connection and hidden agendas. And when you do, you shut it down, not with aggression, but with calm, quiet resolve. You don't owe anyone access to your inner world simply because they're curious. Let them play their games. You'll always stay 3 moves ahead. 2, they accuse you of thinking you're better. One of the most common and predictable responses you'll face is the accusation that you think you're better than everyone else. This usually comes from someone who doesn't understand your detachment. You're not loud. You don't boast. You simply move through life with self-assurance and calm independence. And for some, that's enough to trigger discomfort. Here's the psychology behind it. Sigma males don't seek validation. You don't over-explain your choices. You don't sugarcoat your words to protect egos. You don't shrink to fit into other people's expectations. For those who rely on group acceptance to feel secure, your very presence feels like a threat. To them, your silence is arrogance. Your calm is condescension. Your confidence is judgment. But the truth is simpler. You're just not playing their game. And when people can't understand your refusal to seek approval, They'll interpret as superiority. It's a defense mechanism. Instead of rising to meet your level of independence, they tear you down in hopes of feeling better about themselves. So what do you do in the face of this projection? You stay grounded. Let them misjudge you. Let them create their own stories. The right people will see you for what you are, not someone who thinks he's better, but someone who is free. And to those trapped in the approval matrix, your freedom is the most threatening thing of all. Free. They secretly compete while pretending not to care. You didn't sign up for a competition. You're not trying to outperform anyone. And yet, you'll notice a strange energy when you walk into certain rooms. Other men begin to talk louder, flex harder, brag subtly, drop compliments that feel more like jabs, all while pretending they're not paying attention to you at all. This is silent warfare, the kind of competition no one admits is happening, but everyone feels. Most men are used to overt displays of dominance. They rely on attention, status, and performance to feel secure. But when a Sigma male enters the picture, it disrupts their rhythm. You're not chasing anyone. You're not clinging to titles or praise. You're just there, present, self-contained, unshaken. And that calm forces others to examine their own noise. Suddenly, they're comparing themselves to you. But in secret, they try to outdo you, mimic your confidence, and measure their worth through invisible battles. But you're not even playing. You're not at the board. While they move their pieces, you're focused on your own path. Let them compete with their illusions. Let them posture and pretend. You don't need to win a game you never agreed to play. The irony? Your refusal to engage is exactly what makes you stand out. And it's why they can't stop reacting. For they create rumors to break your aura. As a Sigma male begins to gain quiet influence, without showmanship, without politicking, and without pandering, it creates discomfort in others. You're not flashy, yet your presence is undeniable. You don't seek attention, yet people naturally gravitate toward you. And in environments where status is usually earned through noise, flattery, or public displays of ambition, your calm confidence disrupts the hierarchy. Those who have spent years climbing the social or professional ladder by playing the game now feel threatened, not because you're aggressive, but because you're effective without even trying. That's when the whisper campaigns begin. They don't attack you outright. Instead, they plant subtle, damaging seeds. Comments like, "I don't know, there's just something off about him," or "he thinks he's smarter than everyone else," start floating around. Vague accusations, cloaked in plausible deniability, sharp enough to damage your image, but slippery enough to avoid accountability. It's the classic tactic of those who fear what they cannot control. Undermine it quietly. Why do they do this? Because your very existence challenges their beliefs. You're gaining respect, attention, and opportunities, and not by following the expected path. You're not networking with desperation or begging for visibility. You're simply showing up grounded and competent. That shakes people. It breaks their internal rules. So rather than evolve, they try to drag you down to the level they understand. But here's your defense: silence and consistency. Rumors only have power when you feed them. Instead, let your actions and energy speak louder. People who are in tune can sense authenticity. They'll feel your integrity. They'll notice that your calm isn't performance, but a way of being. When the noise fades, and it always does, the truth will rise above the whispers. Your aura wasn't built on public opinion. It was forged in solitude, discipline, and the unwavering refusal to need validation. 5. They push you into the role of savior. As someone grounded, focused, and unbothered by external noise, you naturally emit a stabilizing energy. Even without speaking, your presence creates a sense of calm. In a chaotic world, that calm becomes a magnet. People are drawn to you not just because of what you do, but because of who you are. You don't flinch in the face of conflict. You don't chase attention. You don't fold under pressure. And to those who are lost or emotionally scattered, you appear as a kind of lifeline, a steady force in their storm. At first, it feels like admiration. You'll hear things like, "You're different," or "You have an old soul," or "Talking to you makes me feel seen." And it's genuine until it slowly turns into expectation. People stop working on themselves and start leaning on you. What was once respect transforms into emotional dependency. Suddenly, you're being treated like a therapist, a fixer, or an anchor for their chaos. They want you to carry their baggage without ever asking if you're willing. And when you set boundaries, when you gently pull back or say no, you're no longer their savior. You become cold, uncaring, or emotionally distant. It's a twisted flip, and it's rooted in a fundamental misunderstanding. They confuse your strength with responsibility to carry others. But here's the truth. You are not here to fix people who won't fix themselves. You're not a dumping ground for unresolved pain or a free service for those who refuse to do the work. You can care without becoming a crutch. You can be kind and still have limits. And the real gift you offer isn't in rescuing people. It's in showing them that strength is possible, that self-reliance is real, and that healing is their own responsibility. 6. They try to uncover your dark secret. When you move through life without needing approval, without playing social games, and without reacting emotionally to every little thing, people take notice, but not always in a good way. To those stuck in performative behaviors and external validation loops, your calm is confusing. Your non-reactivity, suspicious. They start to wonder, how can someone be so composed, so unaffected, so detached from drama? And that's when the curiosity turns into suspicion. In their minds, no one can be that grounded unless they're hiding something. Maybe you got a tragic past. Maybe you're emotionally numb. Maybe you're secretly broken in some way that just hasn't been exposed. These are the narratives they begin spinning. Not because there's evidence, but because they need a reason to explain your difference. Why? Because if you're not secretly broken, then they have no excuse for being stuck. If you're simply wired differently and thriving without validation, it forces them to look at their own unresolved insecurities. And most people aren't ready for that level of self-awareness. So instead, they search for flaws. They whisper theories. They hope to find a crack in your armor that will make them feel less uncomfortable about their own. But here's your move. Let them guess. Let them assume. Let them create stories in their heads. You're not mysterious. You're just whole in a world that's still healing. You're not hiding. You're just not performing. And while others chase applause and clarity from the outside, you stay centered within yourself. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to move differently. And people will always try to break what they can't explain. But what they don't realize is this. You've already made peace with not being understood. That's what makes you powerful. 7. They feel both protected and intimidated by you. There's a paradox to your presence that people can't quite explain. When you walk into a room, something shifts. You don't have to speak. You don't need to command attention with volume or theatrics. Your presence speaks before you do. People often feel safe around you, as though your grounded energy offers a kind of unspoken reassurance. Even without a word, you communicate. Everything's going to be okay. But here's the twist. They're also intimidated. Your clarity, your direction, your sheer detachment from needing their approval. These traits unsettle people. They highlight what others haven't yet figured out within themselves. While you move forward with quiet certainty, they're still tangled in self-doubt, consumed by overthinking, or distracted by the opinions of others. Your calmness becomes a mirror, and in that mirror, they see their own internal noise more clearly. That can feel overwhelming. So they oscillate. One moment, they gravitate toward you, drawn by your stability. The next, they retreat, unable to bear the discomfort of what you unconsciously reflect back at them. It's not personal, it's psychological. Your presence triggers both admiration and insecurity. But your role isn't to make people comfortable. You weren't designed to blend in. You're a reminder of strength, of self-possession, of what's possible when a person stands fully in their truth. Some will rise to meet that, others will run, and both are okay. 8. They try to knock you off balance with chaos. The more centered and self-contained you become, the more others, often without realizing it, will try to shake that center. It's not always overt hostility. Sometimes it's subtle emotional turbulence erupting in your orbit, sudden drama, people emotionally unraveling near you, or spontaneous tension that seems completely unrelated to you. But make no mistake, this is not coincidence. It's a kind of emotional testing. Your calmness functions as a mirror, It reflects other people's lack of control. It quietly challenges their internal chaos. And for some, that's unbearable. So they unconsciously or strategically try to bait you into reacting. They'll overshare, overspill, or throw emotional grenades in your direction. They want to see if you'll take the bait. Will you lose your composure? Will you get pulled into their storm? Will you finally show that you're just like everyone else? But here's the Sigma's defense, the unbreakable frame. When chaos is thrown at you, you respond not with panic, but with presence. You observe without absorbing. You might offer a calm, "I'll let you work through this," and then gracefully disengage. You might smile not mockingly, but with quiet amusement at the drama unfolding. You understand that chaos only has power when you participate in it. Your refusal to react isn't weakness, it's mastery. And that, more than anything, disarms the storm. 9. They create fake safe zones to trap you. At first, it feels like acceptance. They say all the right things. You can be yourself with me, or finally, someone who gets it. It seems like they see you, understand you, appreciate your difference. You let your guard down just a little, but slowly the tone shifts. The moment you assert a boundary, say no to an unreasonable request, or refuse to play by unspoken rules, the warmth fades. What looked like a sanctuary was actually a trap. This is the bait and switch of conditional acceptance. It begins with flattery, designed to lure you into vulnerability. Then come the tests, subtle attempts to mold or influence you. When that fails, they punish you. Guilt trips, emotional withdrawal, accusations of being cold or distant. You'll hear things like, "I guess you don't really care," or "I thought you were different." But what's really happening is simple. They offer it a safe space, not for who you truly are, but for the version of you that made them comfortable. True acceptance never comes with fine print. It doesn't demand conformity. It doesn't manipulate with emotional IOUs. It allows you to remain fully autonomous. Fake safe zones, on the other hand, come with unspoken contracts, hidden resentments, and constantly shifting goalposts. So what do? You practice polite immunity. Acknowledge the kindness, but don't compromise your boundaries. Observe their behavior, especially when you say no. Their reaction will tell you everything you need to know about their intentions. 10. They elevate you publicly, undermine you privately. In public, you're praised. They'll point to you as a model of quiet confidence. They'll say things like, "He's just got that energy," or "You should be more like him." In meetings, social gatherings, or group dynamics, they sing your praises loudly, but behind closed doors, the narrative flips. In private, they sow seeds of doubt. There's something off about him though, or he's not as deep as he acts. You'll hear secondhand that they've said things like, "He's probably just good at faking it." It's a two-faced game, and it serves a purpose. By publicly admiring you, they maintain their image as confident and fair-minded. But privately, they protect their ego, undermining you just enough to feel superior or in control. This duality also serves as a recruitment strategy. They test the waters, floating their criticisms to see who else might share in their skepticism. They want validation for their discomfort. If others agree, it reinforces their view that your power must be artificial. You'll recognize this pattern through subtle signs. Compliments that feel like setups, comparisons framed as praise, sudden discomfort when others acknowledge your value, and contradictory reports from people in different circles. Your response? Stay unmoved. Never fish for validation. Accept praise without becoming dependent on it. Ignore the whispers. They only hold power if you react. Let your results speak for themselves. When you let your life be the proof, you no longer have to defend your name. You just have to keep building. 11. They try to normalize mediocrity around you. In a world that rewards conformity and celebrates the bare minimum, your commitment to depth, discipline, and meaning stands out like a sharp blade in a room full of dull edges. You don't chase comfort, you pursue growth. And while that may be inspiring to some, it's deeply unsettling to others. Not because you're wrong, but because your very presence disrupts the quiet justifications they've built around their mediocrity. You'll begin to notice it in subtle phrases, often disguised as friendly suggestions. "Why so serious all the time?" or "Not everything has to be meaningful." They might laugh and say, just relax and go with the flow for once. On the surface, it sounds harmless, but underneath there's a deeper, unspoken message. Your high standards shine a light on where I've chosen to settle. This is what you're facing: the subtle art of diminishing excellence. People don't always challenge your values directly. Instead, they try to neutralize your intensity, to make your purpose seem extreme, your clarity seem rigid, and your standards seem unrealistic. This is done through four main tactics. First, they pathologize your depth, casting your focused mindset as something obsessive or unhealthy. You're too into this, they say, as if being fully engaged in life were a problem. Then they romanticize the shallow, implying that a carefree, surface-level existence is somehow more balanced. Why can't you just be normal? Becomes the refrain, not out of concern, but out of discomfort. Next, they weaponize the concept of relaxation, turning it into an excuse for passivity. They'll preach self-care not as restoration, but as an escape from responsibility. Finally, they gatekeep joy, suggesting that introspection and ambition are incompatible with happiness. You think too much to really enjoy life, they'll say, as though mindfulness and meaning are burdens instead of blessings. Why does this happen? Because your unwavering pursuit of better doesn't just reflect your own path. It forces others to reckon with the parts of themselves they've silenced. Your ambition exposes their abandoned goals. Your progress challenges their narratives of comfort. Your example proves that excellence isn't mythical, it's accessible. And if excellence is a choice, then so is mediocrity. That realization is threatening, but your response is never defensive. You don't argue. You don't lecture. You let your life speak louder than their discomfort. With quiet consistency, you move forward. Silent progression becomes your rebuttal to their doubts. You don't waste wisdom on unreceptive ears. Selective engagement ensures your energy is shared only with those capable of understanding it. And most powerfully, you reclaim the labels they try to weaponize. Yes, I am intense, effectively so. Your focus isn't a flaw. It's a feature. You weren't meant to blend in. And you certainly weren't built to dim your light for those who refuse to open their eyes. Let them call it obsession. Let them call it overthinking. You know what it really is? Purpose, clarity, power. In a world afraid of depth, being profound is revolutionary. And you don't need to apologize for being who they're too afraid to become. Final wisdom, the Sigma's unshakable truths. At the core of the Sigma male's journey lies a quiet but unshakable wisdom, one that doesn't need validation, applause, or mass agreement to stand firm. You're often seen as mysterious, but not because you are hiding. It's simply that most people are too distracted to truly observe. The world is quick to judge what it can't categorize, and in your refusal to be easily labeled, you become an enigma to those who rely on surface-level thinking. But your depth isn't a puzzle, it's intentional. It has direction. It has purpose. You are not here to dilute yourself to make others feel comfortable. Your intensity, your silence, your principles, they are not flaws to be softened, but strengths to be lived fully. The world may try to box you in, shrink your edges, or coax you into conformity, but you do not owe anyone a watered-down version of who you are. Let your depth remain intact. It was never meant for the masses. Understand that every reaction you receive from others, whether it's admiration, jealousy, confusion, or criticism, is simply data. It's not your responsibility to manage how people interpret your energy. Their discomfort is not your burden to carry. You observe it, perhaps even learn from it, but you do not alter your course for it, because your path isn't built on reaction. It's rooted in self-mastery. And yes, solitude comes often, but being alone is not a punishment. It is a quiet terrain of uncommon thought, the necessary space for truth to grow. The Sigma does not fear isolation because he understands it as a price and privilege of a life not shaped by external noise. People will always talk. They'll speculate, misunderstand, critique, and project. Let them. Your greatest rebuttal isn't a defense. It's your continued existence on your own terms. Your life, lived deliberately and without apology, is the answer to every whisper, every doubt, every attempt to define you. Because in the end, the Sigma path isn't about being against the world. It's about being undefined by it. When they poke, prod, praise, or punish. Recognize those as rituals of the uncertain. They act out their confusion. You embody your clarity. And the only response truly required of you is simple. Remain. Do you resonate with the ideas I shared in this video? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you're interested in more content about Sigma males, explore the other videos on this channel. Thanks for watching.